Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of I Enjoy Painting. I'm Rob Boss, as you all know, and I'm going to take you through how to paint a landscape. But I've progressed a little bit, so I'm doing urban landscapes. There's a couple things you're going to need. Clear palette with all these colors. Perhaps if I get my act together, I'll tell you what these colors are on the screen. You're also going to need a blue Oxford shirt, unbuttoned, at least 2 buttons, a pair of blue jeans, a beard, and an afro. So let's get started. We're going to take some blues and put them onto a brush. There's already some blocking white on here, or white, as it should be pronounced, white, blocking white. So we're just going to be putting in some sky shapes here, and just starting with some crisscrosses here. Great. And you can see how the blue mixes with the white, and it creates that softness as you go down toward the bottom. I'm just going to add a little more blue in here. Great. There. There. Beautiful. All right. That's really nice. I'm going to grab a clean, dry brush, and I'm just going to blend out these edges, starting with the white side, just like that. There. 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 Great. This is the fastest, easiest way you can make a sky, and just about anyone can do it. There. There. Great. All right. Now the next step is going to be blending this all very softly together. Very softly. Almost as though you were making love to the canvas. I know it's legal in most states to do that, so don't be ashamed if it's what you need to do. Right. There. There. Upward. Upward. There. Blending out as you go down toward the horizon. Upward. There. There. Great. Okay. Just going to take another clean dry brush and just take this, a little bit of that excess there. Great. Perfect. Blend out the bottom there. Great. All right. So that's a good starting sky. Very fast way to make a sky, not very hard. And we're going to start now by making some trees in the distance here. You know what? Let's start with some buildings instead. This is your world, so you can just change what you're doing whenever you're doing it. There's no rules. It's really fun. So we're going to take a roll of paint like that, and a little bit of white on there so it's not too, it's a little bit too blue. Get it mixed up, maybe a little bit of gray in there. Great. All right. So you're just going to take a roll of paint, just get it on the edge there, and just touch it to the canvas and bring it down. Right there. Right there. Great. There. A little brown. Right there. Maybe there's another building that lives here. Right there. Perhaps this is a whole family of buildings. I believe they call them groves. Beautiful grove of buildings here. Just like that. Just touching to the canvas and pulling down. Just like that. There. All right. Now you can soften these bottoms and just take up some of that excess paint. I can also do that with one of the brushes we already used, just to soften some of that bottom there, right there. If we were doing a different day, we could make that mist at the illusion, the illusion of mist at the base of the buildings. But we're going to actually go in and we're going to make some trees back there, so I didn't want those jagged lines in the background. So we're just going to start, we're going to grab some reds, and a little yellow, and that seems pretty good. Maybe a little bit of brown at the bottom. All right, we're just going to go in here with a nice loaded up brush, and we're just going to start tapping and pushing upward. Tapping and pushing upward. Tapping, and if you see the color, there's more color at the top, so it's going to give that illusion of things bouncing around in the sun or something like that. Very nice effect. All right, that looks awesome. We go back with my other dirty blue brush, and I'm going to add some greens. We're going to add another plane here, and just going to get nice green, dark green, not too dark though, because this is in the distance, so we don't want it to be too visible. Then I'm just going to take a little yellow and just put that on the top there. I'm just going to go right in here, start putting in some trees. Doesn't matter if this doesn't look perfect for now. These trees are going to be in the distance, and all that they really need to be is just indications of trees. And the base is always going to be darker. That's important to remember, that your base is always going to be darker when you're doing trees. Almost always. I suppose that there's rare exceptions for everything. So now we have some nice trees, some nice buildings, and we need to figure out a place for these trees to live. So maybe they live on like a grassy area, so we can just start adding in some grassy areas in here. The same dirty brush, just pushing down. There, that's good. There we go. All right. Wherever these things go, just lay them in. It's not important. This is your world, and you can have things and growing and living wherever you like. It's the beauty of being a painter. All right. I'm going to grab a similar 2-inch brush, except for this one's a lot thinner, as you can tell. So you can do some more detail work with it. Like I'm going to go in here into this deep green, and I'm just going to add an area where these trees might be casting some shadows down in here. There. Great. And then maybe just adding some differentiation of color in here. Now, remember, don't go crazy and kill all of your lights and darks. You want to have a balance of light and dark, and that's what's going to offset this painting. That's what makes everything pop out, is the variation between light and dark. All right, looks pretty good to me. Soften this up a bit. I am going to wash this brush if I had a vase, but I don't have a vase, so I'm going to have to work around that. This is going to be very challenging, but it's been a pretty challenging week and lifetime, so I guess I'm just going to work through this. I'm kind of annoyed about it, though. I'm not going to lie about it. All right, I'm going to put in a big tree right in this zone. Just start pushing it out there. And if this side of your brush is loose, you're going to get loose trees. So see how that side is all frayed out? That's going to provide you this irregular pattern. I can show you in the future how to paint more specifically by flipping it over and using the rounded side. We're not going to worry about that. All right, now I'm just going to add a second tree that's a little bit closer. All right, right in here. There. Great. Perfect. Okay. So now I am going to add some highlights onto this tree in the background. Thinking it's yellow, so I'm going to get a little yellow, a little green, and just start dropping them in here. There. See how that guy just pops right off the canvas when you do that? It's amazing. Now, this next tree, we don't want it to blend in with this tree, so we're going to have to add a different highlight color. So I'm going to add a little bit of white from down here, and then a little bit of this yellow. think it's called Indian yellow. But different brands, different, whatever. So we're just going to add this yellow. That's what we're going to call it. And you can see it's more of like a springy, white, bright white color. And you can see now that there's two different sets of trees. I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm going to grab this reddish, dirty brush, and I'm going to start making myself a kind of a purpley color, which is going to be the background of a reddish, big old red tree that we have right in here. There. Wow, beautiful color. Sorry, my easel is bouncing around on me. Wow, it's like a roller coaster. We'll also have to fix that in the future. Okay, but for now, we're just going to be blocking in kind of a nice purple area here. Beautiful. You'd be surprised at all the different colors you see out there in trees. They can be virtually any color at any given time, so let your imagination run wild and don't be limited. Using the same brush, I'm going to add some highlights onto this tree. So I get a little of this paint off of here. This would be really, really nice to have some water to clean my brush, but we didn't prep properly, so we're just going to have to pray. Unfortunately, I went to Catholic school for many years, so I think I can do this. Alright, so we're just going to add some little touches in here. Wow, there. Sparklers, huh? Great. Maybe a little reds in here. Oh, beautiful. Whatever colors you want, just remember, always be thinking about shape and form. These leaves and branches have to come from somewhere. They're not just put in at random. Beautiful. And don't overpaint, otherwise you end up with mud. So you want to constantly be moving to new areas and not pounding the same area over and over again. Alright, that looks pretty good. Now, I'm going to find a, I guess I'm going to spit on my brush because I have no water and we've already started filming. Kind of want to eat it, but I already did that in another take and I got made fun of, so we're not going to do that. I'm actually going to, I have to do that first. Alright, here we go. So I'm just going to add some blues and some whites. And I'm just going to try to get a nice watery area in here. If I had a glass of water, this would take about like 2 seconds. Because you can see how the paint would thin with the water. I mean, I suppose I could use beer if one of my crew members has beer. Yeah? Here. We're just going to have, pour the beer right onto the, pour the beer right on. That's great, perfect. So you just want a little bit of beer, not too much beer. Alright, now we're going to go back into that same color. We're just going to bring, that's a little too much beer. That's okay. I've never worked with beer before. It's very unusual. It adds it's a very fluid substance. Very, very nice. But what we needed was we needed moisture, and there was no water, so we were not going to be deterred by such a minor thing as that. I mean, if you knew all the crazy things that I've gotten through by gerrymandering them or jerry-rigging them. Alright. I'm going to put down this beer brush, and I'm going to grab a clean, dry brush and just blend this whole thing out. I hope that beer does not affect the quality of the brushes going forward, but I don't think it will. Alright, great, there. Now I'm going to make, no, we're going to add some more variation to this grass. So we're going to make this grass kind of stand out by adding some yellows in here. Just load up this real full of paint, and then just start tapping them in. And the grass will just literally pop right out of the brush. It's amazing. You don't have to do too much. You just touch it and move on. If you stay there, you're going to end up with mud, as we've talked about. So you want to just always end up moving around and never staying in the same area for too long. All right, looks a lot more fun. I'd like to perhaps go tanning there in this area. Yeah, right in there. That would be a good area for tanning. All right. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to go in and we're going to create a big old rock in this area. Let's do that with how about some dark brown, like that. Just get a whole roll of dark brown on your knife, and you're just going to touch it to the canvas very gently, and then just bring it down, just like that. Just like that. There. There. Big old rock lives there. Big old rock. All right. That's the other side of that rock. That is a big one right there. So I've noticed that when you're painting these things, there's a lot of things you can do to make it easier, like pronouncing white, white. You could say it along with me, white. There you go. All right. I'm going to add a little bit of white or white to this rock, where the shadows would be, rather the highlights would be popping up. And if you just do the same thing, always follow the same angle. So that's really what's important. So you want to be staying with the same angles. And that's how you can stay consistent with your shapes. Great, that looks pretty good. I'm going to add another rock up in here. Right there. Oh, wow, right there. Beautiful, gorgeous. It's a fantastic little rock right there. Just sticking right out here into the water. Maybe this is, who knows, this could be Central Park or perhaps Prospect Park or maybe Columbus, Ohio. Who knows? All right, there. Great. I'm going to take the skinny side of the knife and then get some black on there. I'm just going to add a little bit of a highlight area here, dark shadow area where this rock sets back against the other rock. Great, right there. All right, now I'm going to grab a little bit of white and add some highlights on this rock. Just touch it and bring it down. There. You can almost see the rock being moved by the glaciers as you do this. As you see the grooves start to appear in the rock. That looks pretty nice. Very textural. There you go. All right. So let's say that you wanted to touch something up like that. You can just take a nice fan brush, and that'll be very forgiving. Just lets you clean up some of those edges, and if you're gentle with it, you won't lose any of your painting. So that looks pretty good to me. So the next step, I think, would be to create a shoreline in here. You know, this water's got to be meeting the land somewhere, so there's most likely going to be some sort of muddy or sandy area. So we're just going to create that right now. You can put some red into it. You can do whatever you want. This is your world, so don't be intimidated by choosing specific colors or trying to paint along exactly with me. It's just as important for you to discover your own world. And while you're doing this, you always want to be thinking about how would this mud or sand, how would it lay on this land? It's always going to be kind of making its way toward the water. That's where it wants to go. So we're going to do the same thing with it. We're just going to constantly be letting it run down toward the water, and it's just going to kind of meander and play until it gets there. No big deal. Okay, I'm going to wipe off this extra paint. Now, you go in here, get a little yellow. We're just going to make a highlight on this. The same thing, just very gently, just touching. There. So you'll see you can make some fantastic little shapes right in there, just as easy as that. All right, I'm going to wipe off this excess paint again, and I'm going to go into my white, and I'm going to start creating a shoreline, or an area where the water meets the land. And there's always going to be some small ripples and stuff that occur in these areas, even if it's just a little pond. There's always going to be some sort of area where two different elements are merging together. It's a very beautiful area. Very beautiful. Okay, there. Right there. Okay. All right. That's a beautiful beach. Just a beautiful little beach area there. How lovely. Just lovely. All right. Maybe in our world, there's another big old tree that lives in here. So we're going to get some blues on this brush and some dark greens on this brush. This is the same dirty brush because I don't know if you guys remember, but I don't have any water because I didn't get my water prior. This thing is just, come on, cell phones? What's going on here? All right, I'm just going to keep putting in these trees regardless of all these obstacles. There, right there. Just a big old tree that lives in here. Definitely going to have a easel that is less wobbly in the future. You know, for at home, this isn't a big deal, but you know, it makes it a little confusing for you guys to follow along, and it makes it also a little bit more difficult to paint. So we're definitely going to improve upon this in the future, but for now, we're just going to work with it. And maybe I'm going to add a nice little red bush right in here. Oh wow, right there. Beautiful. Oh, how nice. Right there, I'm going down that rock. How nice. Great. Very nice. I'm going to get that same dirty brush. It would be nice to have a cleaner brush, but what are you going to do? And I'm just going to start adding in some highlights in here. There. And remember, while you're doing this, you have to be thinking about form and shape of the tree. You don't just pound these things out at random. These leaves have to live somewhere, and the reason that they choose different places is to maximize their exposure to the light. So we're going to try to do the same thing in here. Think about where these leaves would live. All right, maybe there's also some more reds in here. There. Sparkling right down there. Okay, now we can come back in here, get some reds and yellows, just add just a little touch. There. Right there. That's good. Boom. All right. Well, that looks pretty nice. But now we need something to contain this body of water. So we're going to go here with the same brush that I've been using this whole time. And I'm just going to go along the bottom. And you can see that it's kind of a frayed edge. And I'm just going to be pushing right into the canvas there. Right there. This is just going to be the background for the undercolor for these leaves on the other, these bushes on the other side of the pond here. All right. And going to use that just so I don't get it all muddy. And I'm going to make this long and thin like that so that you have a point at the top and then the bottom goes out more. So you can get the nicest little highlights in here just by throwing these in here. And don't be afraid to add some reds. Who knows, this is your world. You can add whatever you want, wherever you want. There, right there. Oh, beautiful, beautiful little bush. Now we'll just add some highlights on him. And that looks pretty good. So I'm going to go in now with a liner brush and add some tree trunks. Again, this would be a great place for water because I'm using acrylic. It's not very good to do that. You don't want to eat your brushes or your paint too much. I've heard bad things that happen to other people who did it, but quite frankly, I don't care about those people. I think they have weaker immune systems than me, and I think I would destroy them in a painting competition. All right, so I'm going to add some tree trunks here to all these little trees, and I'll just go in here and there, right there. So the water or beer or saliva will really help you to make this go thinner. Unfortunately, I don't want to lick it while it's like really, really full because I don't have any insurance and God only knows what would happen. So I think I'm just going to do that. Okay, a little bit more for this tree right in here. Now as the trees come forward, they're going to have slightly bigger trunks to them because they're going to be closer to the foreground. So just be aware of that as things get closer to you, they get bigger. There, right there. Great. All right, and now this guy needs a trunk too. Otherwise he might fall over, knock over those other two trees. Great. Big old trunk right in here. Alrighty. This is starting to get very difficult because there's a ton of paint on here and no water or anything to clean it off. So it's becoming very difficult. But we're going to keep working around it. I'm just going to go in here and create a couple little indications of some trunks way far off in the distance. Wherever these things go, no big deal. Just a couple little things. All right. And there we go. All right. Cool. You can always use your finger just to blur. You can always use your fingers just to blur things out if they don't look exactly the way you want them to. It's not a big deal. You just got to do it. All right. I think I have a little bit more time left, so I'm just going to add some little highlights onto here. There. A couple trees in here have some more color. Maybe one over here too. Starting to turn yellow right there. Who knows? Right there. Perfect. All right. I suppose I could add a little trunk to here. Right in there. This guy's really close to us, so he's got a big old trunk. Right there. All right. There. Maybe a couple little indications right here. Just a couple indications. Right there. Right there. All right. Now, got to get some water along this edge, so I'm going to go in with my knife. I'm going to get a flat roll of white and just push it right there into the canvas, just like that. All right. load up the brush, load up the knife again, and just push it right in there. Great. Sweet. Well, how much more time do I have? I got plenty of time. So I have no more time. So I think we're going to call that one quits. And I want to thank all of you for painting along with me. Thank you so much. This has been fantastic. I can't believe I did this with no water. Everyone in my crew is drinking beer. And there's people with cell phones and whatnot that are going off. But we accomplished it, and you can too. And I'm untrained, never studied as a painter, never studied as an actor. Just go out and do it. Thanks again. Bye, guys.
Okay.
Yeah.